Hey everyone, welcome back to the realm. I'm Gina.
I'm Rich.
I'm Jenny.
I'm Rob.
I'm Amy.
I'm Brian.
Oh my God, I think that's the
First
first time
time.
we did it.
Wait, you didn't hit record. No, it's kidding.
All right, our first episode back for this new season, and we're going out the gate strong, really strong. So everybody, welcome back to what are we at? Season 7 of the realm. So we do 2 seasons a year. So we've been doing this for a little bit, and we're excited. If you haven't checked out any of our other episodes, please make sure you head back over to our YouTube channel. We're on everywhere pretty much that you can find podcasts. So Spotify, Amazon Music, what am I forgetting? Apple Podcasts, pretty much anywhere. But you can see our smiling faces on YouTube. And we also would be remiss if we didn't mention we have do you want it to be called a cousin, a baby brother? How would you like it framed, Brian? We have Wrestling with the Realm, which is a spinoff from our Realm podcast. Brian here is the leader of that, him and his friend Will. We're actually going to have them on about mid-season to come talk about Wrestling with the Realm. So
nice.
You can also check that out. All right. So today, folks, we are talking about pretty much this whole season is going to be dedicated mostly to our travels overseas. So earlier this year, we went to Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Scotland as a team. Brian was unable to join us, but he did join us live during some of our Facebook Lives, or we'll talk about that in a few minutes.
It was fun.
But our first stop was called Ross Castle. So apparently there's 2 Ross Castles over there. We stayed at one it's in County Meath.
Yep.
County Meath. I had a hard time saying that at first. I kept calling it meth, but it's not meth. It's not meth head. It's Meath, County Meath. And it was about an hour and a half or so northwest of Dublin, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So we packed all of our stuff, took all of our equipment, thought about all the ways it could go wrong going through security, carrying all this equipment. We made it over there. Rob was the only one to get stopped and searched because he had cat balls and all kinds of electronics in his backpack. So he had a lot of
What a shock.
What'd you say?
I said, what a shock. The person who gets stopped was Rob.
I think they profiled him, honestly. I think you were profiled. I mean, granted, you did have these electrical devices with glowing balls and orbs in your backpack that kind of was suspicious, but you kind of look shady regardless.
If Rob had a nickel for every time somebody was checking his balls, he'd be a rich man.
So I'm gonna turn the reins over, but I'll just explain a little bit what Ross Castle is, and the group's gonna chime in here in a little bit, and we'll talk about kind of what it was like for our investigation. But we found it's supposed to be a haunted location, and we found it's actually advertised as a haunted location. We found it actually on Airbnb of all places, but they do have their own website, and we'll make sure we put it in the show notes because there's other properties that are adjacent to the castle that you can also stay on, which Rich will probably talk about. So I'm actually going to hand it over to Rich now, and he's going to give you the history of Ross Castle and tell you a little bit more about it.
Oh, all right. I'm just going to give a loose outline, and then I'll kind of take some of the stuff off their little history they got there, like Gina just said, because there's some other buildings on the property there. So Ross Castle, as Gina mentioned, there's 2 of them in Ireland. The other one, I believe, is like southwest of Dublin. I don't remember exactly which county it's in. The one that we stayed in was in County Meath. Construction started in 1533 by Richard Nugent, the Black Baron, as he was known. He was the 12th Baron of Delvin. The first tower was completed in 1537. So I don't know. I think when we were there, there was a diorama upstairs of what it originally kind of looked like. And when we do share some of these pictures and we talk about the tower that was there was 4 of these towers is the way it was laid out. There's one standing still, and that's the one that when you hear us talk about the tower rooms and stuff like that, that's the one we're referencing. But there was one tower that was completed in 1537. The Great Hall and the further extensions of the rest of the compound were finished in 1539. So, I mean, we talked about it kind of when we were over there, but think about some of those dates of how old that stuff is and how old we consider things here in this country. I mean, we came across things back there that were dated 660, I mean, it's mind blowing to think that these dates and these things are still standing. We saw a lot of cool stuff over there, but 1539 is when the whole compound was done. The the final thing that they did, which they call it the final fame of the place, the was when Miles O'Reilly, who's also known as the Slasher, that's when he went into battle and ended up being killed. So that was like the last 1644 is the last time you hear about a lot of history with the place, and because you had the Nugents who, as I mentioned, built it, and then you had uh, O'Reilly stayed there, and that was at, like I said, in 1644. Um, the castle pretty much fell into ruins, thus what we see today of what's left. In 1864, one of O'Reilly's relatives, Anna O'Reilly, installed a large plaque commemorating her heroic ancestor in the Tower Hall. We have pictures of that stone that's on the wall, and that was where we did our base camp. Is in that room that they're talking about right there, which is the Tower Hall, is what they called it. I don't know what we called it. There was a library right next to it. I mean, it was
Yeah,
kind of
kind
like
of.
a
It was just
foyer,
a weird. Yeah, that's what
you know,
just a
kind
really,
of.
yeah, foyer,
Yeah.
great foyer, if you will.
And that was 1864. 100 years later, the rest of the entire compound was left in its present outline, and modern conveniences were added, and that's when they started turning it into more of what it is today. However, in 2020 and 2022, that's when most of the renovations took place, in including that large great room that was up the steps. That was all completed like between 2020 and 2022.
Did you
So
want me to show some photos? Sorry to interrupt. Do you want me to show some
yeah,
photos
go
while
ahead.
you're
Yeah,
talking?
yeah,
Okay.
you can.
So if you're listening to this, we're gonna share some. We'll put some photos in the show notes, but just head over to our YouTube channel and you'll be able to see these photos. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Now on the property, you have um, several different buildings on the property. What you have is there's a Ross Castle itself. Then you have a quarry house, is what they call it. T Rose Cottage, Castle Cottage. So there's a total of four different areas there. That Hey, look at that handsome devil. Oh,
I'm gonna
uh,
try to make it bigger here so I
so you
can.
have four other property or houses on that property. One of them, I don't know. Myself and Rob were outside. The one that we walked outside, we walked past one of them. I don't know which one that one is.
That's like as you're entering the property, that was the main gate to
Yeah,
get onto the property.
the two that I think were outside of the property, just as you walked, that picture of me opening the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, you can clearly see the tower. You see the door of the van. If you go back that direction, just
Yeah.
back that direction down the driveway, there's a couple houses there that apparently are part of this B&B too. So like if we went there and we said, well, we don't need to stay in the castle. We can stay in one of these. So there's several different property or buildings on the property that they rent out for the Airbnb.
I'm gonna try to get back to the photos in a second. It wasn't cooperating with me.
I don't know that there was, I mean, there might have been somebody else in one of them. I know when we left,
It was a
there was lights on
vampire.
in one of them. But then I started wondering if maybe it was that guy that brought us the wood. Maybe like the caretaker stays in one of those houses too.
Yeah,
'Cause
maybe.
Well,
I
that
don't
would
know.
be awkward because we spent that time over there with the lights shining
Oh
in
yeah,
the windows
and that,
over there and whatnot.
yeah, and that was which one was that? Was that the cat? I think that was the Castle Cottage. Yeah, the Castle Cottage was that white one, Rob, that
Oh, you're
we
talking
were.
about just outside the gate.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
We walked down that way. There's like a little stable there.
That would be to the right or to the left of that picture.
There you go. Yep.
So these are the
Yep.
cottages.
Yep. 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 The cottage, the Castle Cottage was the one that was right outside the gate. And then those other two, I think, were on either side of the
Yes.
road as you drove out.
Yeah.
So
Here's an
we,
aerial view of it. Oh, you know what? I never noticed this aerial view. I wonder if we could zoom in on this and
Did
see if we
we,
had
did,
the
is that
cannonball.
from you, Rich? Did you take that aerial view with your drone?
moving on.
Wow.
Let's just say that it was an experience. Anyway, moving on. The ghosts or spirits that are supposedly there. Um, you have Richard Nugent, the Black Baron. You got Sabina, which was his daughter, and he was known as a tyrant of the times and was not a very nice guy and would have no problem beheading or taking care of anybody that disobeyed him. So he ran a tight ship there, and that was part of the the problems between him and his daughter. There is the things that she wanted and she liked, he did not, and came to the point where she was engaged to be married and was trying to sneak off with forget what his name was. We'll call him Hans just because I like that name. I don't know what his name. I don't really remember what his name was, but um, he ended up killing him. And part of those his part of the ghost stories revolving around Sabina stem from that episode. Some say she died there at the same time when he did, when her father killed him. And other stories are that she returned back to the castle and she just isolated herself in the room, which is Sabina's room now, which you'll hear us talk about in future episodes and or whatnot. And then she just was a recluse, and then she ended up dying there. The other one is the slasher, which is O'Reilly, which I touched on that he was the last one that would have been last battle or the last death associated with this Ross Castle. Um, they have a room dedicated to each of those three main storylines, if you want to call it that. Um, they had Sabina's room, uh, the Barons, and then the slasher, which is O'Reilly. So we hit that pretty hard when we were there, each of those storylines. But it's this place is situated on a lock or lake. And we walk down there. It's very peaceful, very not a lot of well, I don't know. You get probably half hour outside of Dublin and it's pretty much not so populated. So you could see down around that lake
You
or
can see
lock.
right here in that photo.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, yeah. There it is.
backyard right
There's
there.
paths that walk that wind down there, so it's really cool. They've got some sort of creature burying things out there. There's big holes in the ground. Not sure what that is. Could be sandworms. Not sure. But
Somebody brought up a good point when I told him about that and showed him that video. I like the storyline better about that there's possibly bodies and they take care of their own crimes, but somebody had brought up like, well, what if somebody was out there with a metal detector?
Oh yeah, that's true.
could have been, I suppose. Some of
That's
them.
what we should have done is I should have brought my metal
Yes,
detector.
we
That would
should
have
have.
been now we got to go back. That easy.
Yeah. So I mean,
That easy.
it's a really cool place. I'm glad we went. I'm glad we stayed where we did. A lot of history there. There's no possible way that we heard or were told everything about that place, and you could go there probably for 2 or 3 weeks and not experience stuff or get the whole story. I mean, there was different books in different places that had different histories of, like timeline of different events and everything that's associated with Ross Castle. It was just amazing. So yeah, if you want to go to their website, you can click on their history there. You can read about the history. You can read about the hauntings. You can see the pictures there.
It's
Like I said,
ross-castle.com. Ross-castle.com for their website.
I recommend it to anybody that's going over there or is looking for something to do. I recommend it. It was pretty cool.
I mean, it
Whether we
sleeps
come away with
16
anything or not.
people.
Yeah, I mean, you can make it work. I think 6 people was perfect for what we did.
Mhm.
Because believe it or not, you would have swore you could say there's no possible way you're going to be in one area and not hear some. There's how it's cement or brick, rock, stone, whatever. You're not going to hear anything. We could
Right.
hear other things. So I mean, I think if you get too many people for doing what we were doing,
Yes.
I
Yeah,
think
you don't
get
want too many people.
contamination. If you're just going there for a weekend or a getaway, I mean, yeah, you could sleep a lot of people in that place.
So just to let everybody know that's listening, if you can take a look at this part of the video, if you're just listening and want to watch on YouTube, like we're at the website. You can go to the website and look. So that one of the towers are still standing. There used to be 4 towers.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the towers are still standing, and then like total about with the castle, maybe 1/4 then of the castle, because it was fairly large when you take a look at that model that we were talking about, which is in one of the pictures. I thought I got a close up one.
Oh,
But
I think
guess I
I
didn't.
think I did too,
I
but no,
took some close-ups in my
cool.
pictures.
Yeah, good deal.
So
Cool.
if you have it and you text it to me, I can pull it up on the screen. But so just
file.
let everybody know. So the Abbey wall. So if you notice the whole bottom, so this whole portion is all the original stone where
Mhm.
my mouse is, and then the Abbey wall still stood. So everything on the lower floor was all original, like stones from that age, like from when it was made. They just put
Mhm.
modern plumbing in it. So all these little slivers here, they're all windows that you can see out of. And then they built on, so they built like that, like Rich said, that modern structure they built out from the Abbey walls and made like a second story, which has a bedroom, a very large den. It has like 2 or 3 dining tables that
The
seat.
bar area up
Yeah,
there.
there's a bar up there,
Mhm.
and it was really cool. And a little library area,
Mhm.
and there's a couple bathrooms. So it
Yep.
was very cool. But yeah, that just and one of the things I think we remember, the host, first of all, the hosts were great. I have to say,
Mhm.
they're very accommodating. The hosts were
Absolutely.
awesome. And they came and they told us a few stories. You remember some of the stuff they had told us, Rich?
Only one I remember um was the one about hearing the like maybe the cannonball or something up on the
Yeah, so they said that on the top of
tower.
the
So
tower, there's still a cannonball up there.
I tried to
And
verify that through pictures and different things that I have or found, and I can't get close enough
You
to
didn't
see.
get
that's
the
why I said,
drone up there?
yeah, we should have got your drone up there after the fact. Okay, we
It,
we
wa- it
tried with the
almost was
drone.
up there as a permanent fixture. We'd have to be looking for that on another picture.
Yeah, right. For years to come, people will
I
find
wonder.
it centuries later and be like, "What is this? Archaic."
I started thinking about it, and since I've got that camera that I'm watching of Sabina's room, that ladder that was outside that door that goes up. I wonder if there's like a hatch there that takes you on top of the tower. We should
Oh,
have.
I don't
I don't
know.
know why none of us thought about, hey, what's up there, and go up
Hmm.
this ladder. We should
And
have.
I didn't make it to the top floor because I went there with a broken toe. That
Yeah, there's a ladder there, and I bet you if we would have went up there, I bet you we could have popped our head out
We'll have to
and
go
looked around
back.
up there.
all these see now all these reasons to go back, and now we have to go back.
Yeah.
So I remember her saying that it's all friendly
Oh
spirits.
yeah.
They
Yeah.
felt nobody ever felt threatened when they were there. Nobody had any kind of bad feelings, but sometimes people that have been in there that have done the cleaning have felt like just presence there. They felt like they're not alone. I think they heard noises. I don't want to misquote them, but we had a lovely talk with the owner's or the person that runs it, their daughter. cooked an Irish meal for us. So not only like can you stay in the castle, but you can also hire them to cook you a beautiful Irish menu. So they have vegan options, vegetarian options. So they send you the menu ahead of time. You get to pick from all of this. So it was just amazing. The food was so good, and their daughter Stephanie came and prepared it for us, and then she brought somebody with her to kind of help serve the food to us and help clean up. I think her name was CeCe. Is that right?
Yeah, CC was one of them. Yeah.
CeCe, yes. So hello to CeCe and Stephanie. They were awesome. But CeCe was telling us like asking us questions of anything we might have like come across so far. We were talking about hearing some noises at that point, and so she started telling us the things that she was experiencing when she's there. She says she doesn't really think about it, but when she every once in a while she'll get like that creepy feeling, and she was gonna look at some of the evidence and watch our lives, which is what we did. We did some Facebook lives while we were there, and so she said she'll definitely look at it differently if we find some evidence.
Right.
But when we were there, we kind of split up. I was stuck at base camp because I couldn't. My walking around was, I don't say stuck in a bad way, but like I would have loved to done some more investigating myself personally. I just couldn't. But what I didn't like about being at base camp, so that front section where we had base camp set up, it's like the foyer that we were talking about, but it's like a seating room. So there's like a couch and chairs and desk, and there's books and stuff in there too. And it's off the library. So I'm down there alone, and we're in this giant castle, and I'm just sitting by myself downstairs. So thank goodness, like Brian was live with us. I felt less alone down there. And because it was kind of creepy. And so like at some point I was hearing noises, and I couldn't tell like, was I really hearing noises, or we also had a fire going in the fireplace. So then I was like, oh, it's just the fireplace. It's just the fireplace. So we are actively, so I'm going to let the group talk a little bit more about our lives because they're the ones that kind of split up and did it. Brian, I'd love to hear from your perspective when everybody's done, kind of like what you thought, how the lives went and your experience on your end, from like a user's experience basically. But there were quite a few times for myself, our personal story, like Kez and I definitely heard something in our room. So I'm really excited to get to that evidence. We've had seven, was it 7 cameras set up? No. Did we set up all 8? Gosh, why can't I think of this? No, we did 7 cameras. I think. Yes, because there's 7 of us reviewing right now. So we did 7 cameras.
Yep.
Everybody's assigned a camera right now. So we're going through it over the next month. By the end of the season, we have a Ross Castle Part 2. So we will be doing an evidence review at that time because we have found things. We do have EVPs that we know of so far. And there's different things that kind of happen. We'll capture those a little bit and replay them for all of you that happened during the live. And kind of break all that down for you guys and the experiences we had. But the one experience that I can talk about without going too much evidence, because we'll do this on part 2, but Kez and I, was the very first day we were there, we all decided, I think we kind of took a little nap when we got there, fell asleep for a bit, and it almost sounded like an animal in our, like a dog was there. And the weird thing is there's all these dog statues everywhere. And I was tired. We didn't sleep. We thought we were going to sleep on the flight over. That didn't happen. We got 0 sleep on the plane. And so I thought I was at home. And so I was trying to like wake up. So I thought I heard the dogs, and I was like, oh, the dogs probably need to go out. And then I realized I was there and the sound that we heard. So I am so hoping that we captured it on the audio recording. But for sure, I'll be able to replay that interaction between Kez and I because we did have a recorder going at that time. So that'll be pretty exciting to see if we captured that. I can't recreate the noise. I'm not going to embarrass myself to try.
Come on.
No, because I'll end up sounding like a horse or something. And
I know, let's do it.
That's what we're expecting.
No, I I can't do it. I can't. It's kind of like that kind of sniffing, sneezing kind of sound that dogs make, which I won't do it, and kind of cheeky sound, and then dog
Not really sure. I need something a little bit more to
Yeah.
go off of.
No,
And I'm
we're
sure
good.
the audience would love that too.
No, we're good. We're good. I'm good not impersonating the dog. So and then it sounded like a collar jangling, like the tags that would hang from a dog collar. So
I
it's
didn't
just
get nothing.
really
I didn't get anything like that yet, but
so
Hellhounds.
yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Oh, what if it was hellhounds? Gosh. Okay, well, who wants to go first in talking about their experience there? Don't everybody jump
I
in.
will.
Amy, go for it.
Yep, I'll do it. I'll get it over. No, I loved it actually. It was beautiful, and it was a little chilly everywhere, but it just had like, I mean, even if you weren't looking for ghosts, it would be just a cool place to hang out. I think. I don't know if other, but people would be like, "Oh, it's haunted. I don't want to stay there." But it was beautiful. I couldn't recommend it enough. Even if you're going to a bachelorette party or like a, you know what I mean. I thought it was great. But we did have some weird things happen and a lot of like shadowy things happening. When we were trying to recreate there was almost like a shadow passing on a wall behind us where you could just catch it on the corner of your eye, but there wasn't really any windows to the road or anything. Like we tried to recreate it. We couldn't recreate it. So I don't know if this is too much information.
Oh no, you can
Okay.
share. No.
So on the last night we were there, Rob and I were trying to stay in the tower. Whose bedroom was it? The top one?
Sabina.
Yep.
Sabina.
So we went up there and we have the little robot. And do you remember the robot was like nothing? It wasn't doing anything. And then all of a sudden we get in there and it's like going nuts. It's going all over the room. Do you remember?
Oh,
Yeah.
of course I do. Yes.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And so, I mean, it wasn't doing anything and we weren't wandering around the room. It was
You guys weren't in the path because we demonstrated
no, we were
just to let the
sitting
We were in
audience
bed.
know.
Yeah.
We demonstrated to everybody. So those of you listening, those that were watching the live, we demonstrated to everybody like how close you have to be in order to make this robot move or activate, because it senses motion. So it's a motion sensor device. And like you said, it was doing nothing. So you guys are laying up there and it starts going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
And then we went back downstairs. No, it was just kind of chilly, so we wound up going back down to our regular bedroom, but it was pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of things that happened, I feel like, that we can't really explain yet till we start going through all the evidence. So, maybe we'll look at it and be like, oh, it was this here or whatever, but I don't know. I had a great time, and like I said, it was such a cool place, and I'm thankful that we could go. And the grounds were beautiful. It was very well kept. The showers were super confusing, but other than that,
American.
yes.
Well, we had the electronic shower.
Well, and I feel like you pull a string, you push a button, you turn a dial. I don't know what any of that did. Do you know what I mean? We were just poking around
Until the water got hot.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my experience so far. So
But yeah, and even somebody that's such a skeptic like you, having had experience that you're like, I really need to take a deeper look into this.
yeah, because it was weird
telling.
stuff. So, but what a place to have a weird interaction, So it was cool.
Think about all the history that's there, and you just wonder, like, what it is. But that's what makes it so cool to me, is because most of you are skeptics that are on this team, like true skeptics. And so when something happens that makes you guys go, like that to me is exciting. So
But you can't help but touch these walls and touch the ruins that we went to visit and stuff, and just think like what these walls have seen, right? Like battles, and I just can't wrap my head around it, So
I couldn't imagine being a child growing up in that house, like in the 1200, whatever year was built. That's just crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So
And the
okay.
fact they were able to convert it with such modern conveniences with the, to put those bathrooms in there with the plumbing and to be able to run that up the tower walls and everything was pretty impressive.
I don't know. I got pictures of the Baron's room. That one looked like you had to stand, like bend over or go in the shower on your knees. It was so, it was like, that one was
It was
like they
like a hole
got
in
out
the
of there.
wall.
That
Because
was, yeah, that
it's
was,
original structure. So this is all original structure that they've
yeah,
converted into these bedrooms and bathrooms. So each, just so you know, each one of the
yeah.
bedrooms
Kind
had
of
bathrooms
crazy room
in
is
the
this?
tower.
It was weird.
What
Holes
are
in the wall,
Well,
kneeling
it's
in the
like a
shower.
really narrow path to get in there.
That bathroom in the Baron's room looked almost unfinished, like partially demolition. And I'm not like making fun of it. It was just it made me feel claustrophobic.
So
So it
imagine
was
living back then, like that's the size of everything. Like,
yeah, but they probably didn't really have bathrooms. Did they just have bedpan or
then what room were
what are
those
those things
bathrooms
called?
then? Then what was each one?
Bedpan.
Latrines. They
Bedpan,
had
but
yeah,
The
but
latrine, yeah.
what were those little rooms originally then? I wonder, like,
Probably
'cause-
not a closet.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
so then I would just love to know like originally what the outline of that building was. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Who wants to go next?
Get
Who are you
the-
pointing at?
I'm trying to point at Jenny. There it is.
Jenny's
There
next.
it is. Perfect.
It's funny because where you're pointing and where I'm looking at you pointing is totally different. I know it's
The
different.
first time you
Oh,
pointed
how
was pointing
fun
at her on my screen.
for all of us.
No, I absolutely agree with Amy. It was gorgeous. And it was easy to forget that you were in, such an old building with the way they had the decor. It was every inch was decorated, every inch was, just unique things that you could see. There was a giraffe head
Yes.
walking around the corner when you were going up the stairs in the newer area. And when you walked outside, it was just greenery and flowers, and you could see the water from just standing on the side of the tower. And I thought that the tower was amazing. I felt like the bathrooms were really unique. They had to make the bathroom kind of with whatever space they had. The windows were like just those little slits. And so you think of like a little, an actual window, and you're like, oh, look, there's the window. But really, in the time of war and battle, that was a protection to make sure that they didn't, wind up getting shot. It was just such a small little window to be able to see out. So it was really unique in that you could experience the modern stuff that they had in there and then still recollect about the old things that happened and the battles and the original stone walls. And there was no Wi-Fi in the tower, and so we had to accommodate for that as well when we did our Facebook lives and whatnot.
Yeah, the investigation we weren't able to take into the tower, so we got creative with that on the TV screen. I'll talk more about that later. Yeah.
I really just felt really lucky to be there, and I was so thrilled to be there with you guys because we all got along great, and the kitchen fantastic. It was
Yeah.
beautiful. It had all modern amenities, and it was fun going to the grocery store, kind of, sort of. I think we made them angry at times. I don't know how, but some of them were a little bit frustrated, I think, with us. I think you needed a card to shop there, and we didn't know that. But
Oh yeah. Like their savings card. So it's like here we have the savings club too, right? But usually like somebody will just type in their phone number, but they were serious about their savers cards.
they were very serious, and I wasn't sure exactly how serious, but they seemed extremely serious about that. But the crumpets, can't say enough about the crumpets. Call out the crumpets. French press coffee.
Yeah, I think everybody came back home and bought a tea
did.
kettle and a French press coffee.
It was so good.
Yeah, that was cool.
And the fireplace was really cool. The modern area was so comfortable. It was truly like, a high-end hotel type environment. It wasn't the thought that you were in a really old castle. But then when you got into the tower, it was a much different feel. So
My favorite thing about the tower is the fact that the stairs to get to the tower was behind a secret door in the library.
So true. So true. And those stairs, I mean, as you got higher up in the tower, they just shrunk. And by the time you were going up to
They're a
that top
spiral.
room, you had like 2.5 feet to kind of walk up.
Yeah, it was very narrow.
And it was interesting. And you think about it, well, yeah, the tower is kind of like going like this as you're going up the tower. So I loved the scenery outside. We were able to take a walk and hike down by the water, and Rob and Kez, they were having a good time climbing on logs and fallen trees, and um, made it all the way down to the water. And then we met a guy with a dog.
What was
we
the
looked
dog's
up and
name?
Here's a guy coming
Lucy.
down with a dog. They all said, "Jenny, you go. You're friendly," because we weren't sure what to expect. But it was.
Was the dog's name Lucy?
Was Kenobi.
Oh yes, it was. It was.
And he made sure to let us know as an Obi-Wan.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, and then we wandered around and we saw a rainbow and out in the fields and the hills, and Kez put their hand out and held the rainbow. It was so cool. We got a lot of good pictures.
It's everything you expect an Irish countryside to be.
Right.
And you always hear people say, you can't put it in a picture. It's so true. I look back at a lot of the pictures and I'm like, but it was so much bigger than that. It was so much more beautiful than that. It was really just an experience that I would encourage anyone to go do. It's gorgeous there.
Did you have any personal experiences of any feelings or anything when you were there?
Just the first night, we were in the second level. I can't remember if that's O'Reilly or the Baron's room.
Baron was the second one.
In the Baron's room, that first night, I did just feel heaviness and felt pins and needles, chills, that kind of thing as we were doing our EVPs. And
that's not common for you. That's not the usual.
No, it's only happened a few times. So I'd be really interested to see if there's any evidence around that. I didn't feel like I was never afraid, but I did have some strange, just physical things going on the first night. So really looking forward to finding out if there's any evidence around that, or if it was just, one of those, unusual things that happened. So would love to see something concrete come from that.
Nice. Rob, what about you?
What about me? So for me, I mean, I have never been out of the country. I've never seen the ocean. So the whole experience was not overwhelming in that part where like, oh, it's too much. It was intense, like all the time. So the castle itself was really neat. I really liked on the outside of the grounds. I mean, Ireland, just the outside looks different than out here. I liked that there were the statues. There were statues everywhere. There were statues out in the woods out there.
Yep.
Me and Kaz went and walked around a lot. We explored way out into the walls. That's where like the hill that's down from the castle. I mean, when you're on by the castle, it's a hill, but when you come up on the other side, there were 7 spots that looked like somebody had dug something up. There was just no grass. It had been dug up. So, I mean, I don't know what that was about. It was interesting. We found the finger in the bottle.
You did. It was not a thing. Not a finger.
It might have been.
You have to tell the story.
Kez to open it up. Kez would not do it. They would not do it. So,
but wait, tell the story. Set up the story. So
here's a story. So we're walking around through the rocks, and there is a bottle sticking out from underneath a rock. It is maybe like a clear wine bottle. It's not like somebody had to have lifted up the rock, and like it's not like a huge rock. You could lift it up and then put the bottle like halfway under. So I took the bottle out, and there was definitely something floating in there that had been deteriorating. Now, there was debate on whether or not it was a finger or a cigar. I tried to get Kez to open it up or smell it.
Oh.
They would not do it. So I don't blame them. I wasn't going to do it either, but
no self-respecting Irishman is going to put a cigar in a bottle.
Yeah, or maybe a finger. Who knows? I don't know.
Finger, yes.
So I think I put it back under the rock so we wouldn't have any we released the ghost of O'Reilly or
Bad-
something, right?
Bad Mojo or
Right. Well, when we were down by the water, there was like we called it the witch's hut. It was very old building, shed. They'd put a door on it, I'm sure. I don't know. There was a path down to it. There was even down by the water, there was like short walls, so they had actually must have, used it. Clearly, this is where they would have set the boats off. There was a big
Yep.
chain around a tree. We were like, what's all this about? What's all this then? And the paracord, which was like really fresh. That
Yeah.
was freaky. And then we met, Kenobi the dog. But as far as like, this is my question about the tower was that there's 4 towers. All these people stayed there. Do we know that like they all stayed just in that tower? Is that like a fact?
No, I don't think that that's the fact. I think it's the Ross Castle itself.
Yeah, I think they just named them those rooms. I don't know that that was particularly their bedroom when
That's what I was kind of wondering if they just did that for that or if this was like a fact. But um to me, the most uncomfortable I really felt was at night. And it was only like if I went in the kitchen or in a dining room, there was that kind of uneasy feeling. And I think mostly what it was that it was so dark outside. I mean, it could have been people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there were people or would have been, but they could have been standing right outside that window and watching, and you would never know. And it
Right.
made me a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, with all the windows too.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
mean. They
they
were
just
all over
don't
the place. It
know.
was dark outside.
Yeah,
And with
yeah,
the sculptures too, when we were outside, there's a couple of kids that are climbing up on a ladder over a wall. It's one of the sculptures. And with the IR camera, it was really creepy looking. It was really creepy looking. So um as far as a personal experience, the only real personal experience that I can recall, besides Amy trying to set that white noise machine on fire, was was right was when we were up in the room. You were with me. Which room were we in, Mr. Finkel, the Lord Finkel? It was we were sitting up there in the top,
Yep.
and we heard a noise
You're
that
talking about
wasn't
the one
like
that has,
nothing.
yep.
There's nothing could really creak in this place. It's stone.
Yeah.
There's really nothing that can creak. And we heard that sound loud as day and we got it on the recorder. So
Yep.
whatever this sound was, and there was a couple other that were like while we were in the room. I think you got one, Rich, that sounded like it could have been a voice while we were in that room.
Mhm.
And when you can audibly hear it and then pick it up on the recorder, that's just one of my favorite things. The
You guys,
robot,
to clarify, you heard a disembodied voice and you caught it on the recorder.
right, but the one was the noise. I don't know if it was a voice.
Okay.
We listened to it a lot. We all listened to it. Jenny was with, I believe, um, and couldn't really tell. It was weird. So that'll be good because it was on my recorder, so I can go back over that as well. These noises and the robot. I don't know how I feel about the robot. It didn't really do a lot in the room when we had a group of people in there, but when me and Amy were up there, it was going crazy. It was all over the place. And my understanding is it's supposed to go towards noises, right? Or so when we were also doing the Facebook Live in the library, as we've been calling it, which like right, we used the Ouija board, and I cannot clarify enough or be seriously, it's not something we would normally do
Correct.
or
We didn't
would
bring
do-
it. It was already
yeah,
there.
it was there, nor would we recommend doing it. And I don't really think anything too creepy happened with that Ouija board. Me and Kez tried it, but the robot was acting kind of weird in there, but it kept falling over and it kept getting stuck on the rug. It's not really an all-terrain vehicle. So the floor itself was, it was a stone floor, so the terrain was a little bit rough. And with the rug, that'll be fun. That was our first time investigating with the robot, so it'll be interesting to bring it onto new adventures and see how it reacts. And then maybe as we can get a better feel for it. I loved staying there. I mean, as we have already talked, you wouldn't have to ask me twice to go back.
Correct.
It was great. Interesting experience and looking forward to going through the rest of that. evidence, my camera, all the recording. I mean, I carried a recorder. I had both me and Amy had our body cams on, so we got our share of evidence to go.
Yeah.
Loved it.
We'll have that, we'll have the bulk of it, hopefully have it all done by the end of this month, but for sure the last episode that we're going to do is going to be Ross Castle Part 2, where we're going to give you all of the evidence. So I doubt we'll have anything ready like kind of during the season, but the end of this season we're going to have some evidence ready for you guys to listen to. So we'll either debunk things or we'll have some things that we'll have you guys listen to and kind of give us your opinions about. What about you, Rich?
As I said before, I thought it was a great place. I like being there. I would recommend it to anybody that's going there for paranormal reasons or otherwise. If you're going there just looking for a getaway, great place. Um, Investigating wise, I don't know. I think a couple different weird experiences that I can't put a finger on. I didn't have anything like I spent some time up in that little Harry Potter room when we first got there, and we all went our separate way to lay down. I think I'm the only one that went up in the tower. But I had a recorder going and stuff like that, so I was in there for I don't even know how long we were laying down. I don't think it was quite 2 hours or
Yeah,
maybe a little bit longer because I think my recording was like 2 hours and 30 minutes or
Yeah.
whatever that I had that I went back and listened to, but I didn't get anything. No weird. I didn't really have any weird feelings anywhere. I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel like um I was being watched or any of that stuff. I mean, so going over evidence, I can definitely say that I think that we do have some things like we're talking about, like EVPs and stuff. Watching a little bit of video that I've watched. I haven't seen much other than maybe a couple questionable orbs or light trails, stuff
Light
like that.
emission.
But and outside the one myself and Rob had in that room there that we heard, and then we went back and listened to it, and I have that on recording too, which is weird. I let Brian listen to it before last weekend. But I mean, I don't know that I didn't really have anything happen that like stands out that I think was really weird. Um, just it was a really cool place. The tower was really neat. Just getting to hang out in there. Um, Even though there was little heaters everywhere, it was still a little chilly
Silly,
once
yeah.
you got up into that tower area there. We
Yeah, the thing I loved is that they had wool blankets, which
mhm.
I was like, I thought I was going to be too hot, but I was so comfortable. It was so cozy.
Oh yeah, there was yeah. I mean, yeah, we investigated a tower. We investigated the newer areas, even though claims in the newer rooms or that newer wing were kind of hit and miss and kind of staggered. I mean, some people, you talk to some people, yep, something happened in the green room. You talk to people, oh, nothing happens over there. So it's just, but everybody, the main consensus with everybody was that there was always something going on in that tower area. So I mean, I didn't really have anything else happen outside the grounds. Like Rob said, was really cool. I enjoyed being able to go out there that night that we did, and we were able to walk down there to that wall and then back up, and then we kind of went around
We
by
saved a deer.
yeah,
Oh,
we saved a deer that was laying down or fell down, whatever.
I didn't hear this. Tell the story. See, this
They
is the
had
shit I miss being
sculptures.
at base camp.
There was some sculptures, those like the statues that they have.
Oh, it was a
Yeah,
statue.
yeah. And one was
Yeah.
laying down, and Rob said, "Oh, that one's laying down." And I said, "Well, let's help him up." So we stood him back up. We helped him up.
Oh,
You know, but getting a
real
little,
We
getting the
conservation.
we restored the castle. We're part of
yes.
that history.
If anything, that should have brought us good luck, right?
Real
Right.
conservationist there.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it was really neat outside at night. Because I had the FLIR on, so I was using that, just checking for heat signatures and things
Did you
like
catch
that.
anything?
No, I didn't. Well, no, we tried. We didn't get
Not
anything.
even animals. We didn't even
Nope.
see like any animals. We heard
No.
weird noises out there.
Something was up in the
Sure.
trees. Something big.
But you couldn't find it on the flare
No,
either
I
by
tried. I didn't
too
see it.
cold or too hot.
Yep. Yep.
Mm.
Yep.
We're too
Th
dead. Dun, dun,
there was
dun.
the one. There was okay. Now I'm starting to think. See, now I'm remembering things. When we were outside, there was that. I thought I heard my name yelled to me when we were outside. by when we were looking at the pictures that you showed of the website there, that white building
Mm.
that myself and Rob walked down, and we were kind of looking inside, and I had my recorder going and I had the FLIR and things like that. And at the very end of that, there's like an old corral area where they would have animals or something. We were standing there talking, and all of a sudden I was like, "Did you hear that?" And he goes, "What?" I said, "I could swear I just heard my name. It sounded like Jenny
Hmm.
yelling my name."
Yeah,
And
nobody was yelling your name.
I was like, and he's like, "I didn't hear nothing." I'm like, "I swear to God, I mean, I swear to God, I heard my name." Um, but went back through the recorder and everything, and there was nothing there, so I can't.
Really? Ah,
But I do remember that was kind of freaky. That was something that I was like, "Whoa, that was weird," because I swear to God, I heard my name.
did you have a body cam on?
No, I did not. I don't think I did. I don't think I did.
Okay.
I don't know. I used all four of mine all weekend as I would, and I'd switch between them as they're charging. So I don't remember. I'll have to look. I don't think I had one on.
Sad.
Shit, no, I don't know.
Interested to know if you picked it up on there.
Right, right, right. We know how that goes. But sometimes you can get it here, not here. But
Well, you mentioned the lives. So for those of you
mm,
that are interested, you can go to our YouTube channel and you can see the lives. So we streamed live. We got it was really interesting. It's the first time we've ever done this. And Brian was on this side of the pond and we were over there, and we did it at I can't remember, it was like 6 in the evening. The first night was 6 in the evening here, like
mhm.
Central Standard Time, and it was like midnight, 1 a.m. for us, midnight for us. And so how we did the live is we had a large TV as our monitor, and we plugged the DVR system into that. And then I was using so we plugged the DVR into that, and then I'm using the iPad dialed into the Zoom meeting so that everybody could look at the screen or the monitor of everything that was going on. So I was trying to just, clicking between all the rooms. We were describing what was going on. The people that are watching were able to hear audio of everything that was going on in the investigation. Brian and I were talking about the castle. Actually, that first night, I digress. We actually must have changed that. It was Kez, Rob, and Amy did a Facebook Live, and they went around and toured all the castle that they could, except for they couldn't do the tower. And then it was Jenny, Rich, and Brian that did the Zoom live. So the Facebook live, I'll see if I can't download that and upload that to our YouTube channel so that you can. So it's kind of a same tour, just from two different groups that were going around and talking about the place and giving the tour of the castle.
Yep.
And the second night, it was in the afternoon here, but it was about 8 p.m., 9 p.m. for us there, and we investigated for several hours, and same thing, so people were able to watch it. It was a little, I think we did a pretty good job of making the tech that we had work
Mhm.
for the viewers to be able to watch the investigation. But I'd be curious, from your vantage point, what was your experience with the lives and everything that we did, and how do you think it went, and what stands out to you as far as things that happened during the investigation?
Well, I totally agree with you that if anybody didn't tune in to that live, go onto the YouTube page
Yeah.
and watch that live investigation that was the Saturday night. I think it went almost 4 hours.
Yeah.
Um, I thought it went great. Uh, when we first had the idea to do this, the first thing that you think of is when ghost hunters back in the day would do like their live investigations on Halloween, and it was a really good format. I mean, theirs were much longer, and you can never guarantee that you're going to get any kind of activity.
Right.
Um, but being able to try to present it to all of you guys out there to be able to get an idea of what's going on in the investigation. Um, I thought it worked really, really well that we were able to have um, views of the cameras. We were able to talk to the investigators that were in each one of those locations. Um, Gina, you and I were able to host and kind of keep everything moving. And I think we need to do that more often if we're
I
going to
agree.
be at a location. And I mean, even if it's a smaller location where we only need a few team members, I say we do a YouTube live
Yep.
and do that same thing. I mean, it worked really well, and I think it's super entertaining, and it really gives people an idea of what goes on during an investigation. Um, and we had things going on. I mean, during the whole, almost 4 hours of that investigation that we were doing live, there was plenty of activity that we were getting. Rob was talking about the robot a little bit, and that was super interesting because the first time that Kez and Amy were using it in the library, um, we were kind of surprised. And Gina, I remember you got up and you said, "Okay, I'm going to go in there and we're going to try to just calibrate this thing and see how it reacts." And when you guys would be standing in front of it, because it's supposed to be motion activated, you could stand in front of it just a foot or two away and start moving. And the most that you could get that robot to do is to just kind of pivot and turn. It wasn't having a whole lot of motion. Um, but then as soon as you get back into the investigation and you start asking certain questions, or certain things are happening in the room, and that little robot is just flying around like nobody's business. The same thing happened in Sabina's room towards the end of the investigation, and that couldn't have worked out any better from a presentation standpoint for us. That we were getting right to the end of the investigation. um, Everybody was up in Sabina's room, and actually that was the I think that might have been right at the intermission there when we had the orbs that I was very excited about. And I'm as skeptical as everybody else. We normally throw orbs out because we have an idea of what they're going to be. There was a couple that happened during that investigation, um, in Sabina's room that were really, really interesting because
Yeah, that's right. I remember
yes,
people were kind of pointing it out that were watching the videos. They were
yeah,
typing
Can I ask a
messages.
question?
yeah, go ahead.
Was one of the ones, was it in the bathroom?
Yes, it
Did it
comes
kind
in.
of have like a squiggly tail on it? It kind of did like a I
It,
had one in there right
I
towards the
can tell you
beginning
what
of.
it is because I know right at the spot in the YouTube
Oh
video
yeah, you.
because it's still up on YouTube Live, so I
Yep.
could see which one it is. The one that I'm talking about in particular, it came in from the top left of the screen, comes down. Actually, it would have been over here if you're looking at it. It comes
Yeah.
down, goes towards the bathroom, kind of
Yep.
hovers in the bathroom, and then
Yep.
comes straight towards the camera and veers off.
Yeah, I
It's a
seen it. I didn't see
very
that one yet.
That was yeah, that one was kind of crazy. There were some in the library when Kez and Amy were getting some things going on with the robot, but up in Sabina's room, the one that I was thinking
I
of was really crazy. And when you get to that point, Rich, you'll know where it is. And there was something right after that one. It was interesting because as we're doing the live event, I was explaining, everybody left the room and we're going down. I think that is when we were taking a break, and I was speaking to everybody and I said, okay, this is great. We'll have everybody leave the room. I said, Gina, just leave the camera on this room, on this space. Um, and I was explaining to everybody that now that nobody is in that room, we can get a baseline for what we've been looking at. You can see how dust moves. There are no vents, there's no forced air. So you kind of get an idea of when nobody is in there and nothing is going on, what does it look like?
Right.
And as I'm talking about that and describing it, that's when that orb shoots out. And I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. I'm just talking about this. This is different than everything else that you see. And then just a few seconds later, Rich, after that one happens, the back of the wall in Sabina's room looks like somebody has a flashlight kind of squiggling around on the back of the wall.
Mhm.
Now, when you get to that point, that'll be interesting because the only thing that I can debunk that with is that the only thing that could have been a reflection, as Gina was describing how we had the iPad set up looking at the monitor for the Zoom meeting, that if somebody came down, you maybe could see their reflection of a light or something on the monitor, and then that was being
Yeah.
picked up by the iPad. But that'll be an easy one to figure
Because
out.
I have the video for that room. So I'm doing the
Okay.
hallway where I was at. So I
Okay.
have visual on that because I have it written in my book when that orb happened because I was taking no
Perfect.
timestamps.
Because
I'll be able to see from that vantage point if somebody was walking through
Mhm.
the room at that time.
and that'll be an easy one for Rich with Sabina's room, because if that light doesn't show up on the wall after
Then
that
it's on the
first orb,
monitor.
then we know that it's a reflection. But that doesn't explain the orb. And then later at the end of the night, can't remember what room it was. I think it was Sabina's again. We ended the night in Sabina's room, and we had been having the activity with the robot, and we said, okay, let's take it up there to Sabina's room. And at the end of the night, we did the same thing where we left the camera in Sabina's room with the robot in the middle of the room once everybody left and was coming back down to end the investigation. As everybody is coming back down, that robot just starts zooming around. It's going into the bathroom, it's coming back out of the bathroom, it's doing a perimeter around the room until it eventually gets stuck underneath something. But that's really wild because no matter how many times people would walk in front of that thing and try to get it to move,
Wouldn't move.
you couldn't get it to move. Now, like Rob said, it's the first time investigating with it, and at the end of the day, it's just a toy. It's a toy robot that moves on motion. That's what it is. So, could it just be something that thing does and we're just not hip to exactly how it works? Or you just can't put a lot of you
Stake
can't put a yeah, you got to take it with a grain of salt with that. Or is the motion sensing, and that is it's set up and it's working the way it's supposed to, and we just can't get it to do that, but something else did. um it was cool. It looked good for TV. We had a lot of activity going on. It was super interesting. Everybody did a great job. um i thought it looked I thought it looked great. I thought that the live investigation was a total success.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I can't wait to do that more, like to have things like
Yeah.
that more, because it really opens up our ability to be able to, for when people can't make it to investigations, it really allows for people to be a part of
Hmm.
things, and we can also bring more to our audience that way. Um, I was going to try to pull up the Ross Castle really quick so I could read the what it said for the Airbnb. It just says Ross Castle is an authentic Irish castle situated 1 hour from Dublin in County Meath on the shores of Loch Sheelin. We offer a very unusual stay for anyone looking to experience the history and feel of a 500-year-old Norman keep with exclusivity. I do have to say that the Stephanie that cooked our meal for us, she lives in a house that's even older than that. So she was like, "Oh, my home is actually older than this castle." And we were like, "Oh my gosh, we wanted to go
Right.
investigate her place." Um, they did the extension. It's about 3,500 square foot. There's 7 bedrooms. Um, let's see here. It's good, like Amy was saying. I mean, it's good to have family gatherings, holidays, get-togethers. It sleeps a lot of people. It's a great place even to, like, if you have a large family that you're traveling with. There are tons of relics in this place. So, I mean, it's like being in a museum. The amount of things that are in there. There's an old, like, wheelchair from I don't even know what year or period. There's a suit of armor. There's, like a giraffe's head, and there was a water buffalo, I believe, right? Was there not a water buffalo head on the wall? There was all kinds, lots of taxidermy. There was the big thing was the masks. So there was masks like that kind of crowned this whole like area of the room, and then in the hallway that comes down the stairs. And every one of those masks, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's got to be some kind of voodoo. Some of these masks, they were very interesting looking. But it does say in the description, it says, "Are you interested in ghosts? Lonely Planet lists the castle as one of the 10 lesser known haunted places in the world. Our castle has the feel of an authentic castle because it is authentic. 3 tower bedrooms offer ensuite facilities and large, comfortable beds. Downstairs accommodation provides guests with plenty of space." So, there's the master room, there's a green room, a yellow room. So there was, a whole hallway in the back that has a host of bedrooms. So yeah, I mean, whether you're doing a retreat, whatever you're doing, this place, um, is on the higher end, like of what you would expect, like on a high, like a more high end cost, but it was literally worth every penny. And when you put that many people together, it makes it so affordable to be able to do. Make sure you're traveling with as amazing people as like our group had, because we just really had a great time the whole time that we were gone. There was no discourse, there was no nothing. It was just like a big family traveling together, and it was
Right.
fantastic.
It was an amazing group, but it would have been more amazing if Brian was there.
Yes,
100%.
Brian,
100%.
100%.
Oh,
Look,
he's
clap
still
for
my
Brian
beating heart.
holding it down
Oh.
here. Yeah, it would have been great if we all could have gone, if Danny and Brian could have gone. But
It
like
would
I
have been
said,
nicer if Rob would have sent me the Speedo pic. I was promised a Speedo, and I heard that Sack would have been involved.
There would
But
have been a lot of
It would
underball.
not have been family appropriate. Appropriate. It would have been way worse.
oh gosh. But
But I
our
can send you a pic later.
yeah, ooh,
don't
sexting.
tease me, Rob.
I'm not.
But I do want to say thank you to our host Jackie. She came down shortly after we were there. She accommodated us coming in. We came in a little bit early. She met us there. She was great. They had firewood delivered for us. We were able to keep a fire going in this very old fireplace. Every time we built a fire, my heart just kind of started. My heart and brain was just felt, it was so surreal just thinking of how many fires burned there in the past, and that was to truly keep people warm. So we had the benefit of having some heat in there otherwise. And like I said, Stephanie that made the delicious meal, and
It
CeCe
was
that
a
helped with it.
fantastic meal.
It was
Great.
unbelievable. It was just a whole thing. They set the table so beautifully. So I couldn't say enough. So if you go there, we definitely recommend staying there. It's in a beautiful countryside. And fun fact, it's literally only 15 minutes from like a town where they had like, because the first night we got there, we were just too tired, we didn't go to the grocery store because we went that next day, I think, right? And then so we ended up just getting, they call it takeaway, so takeout, but they call it takeaway. And so we went to a regular old fish and chips place, and but they had everything under the sun there on the menu, even vegetarian things there. So you're not like you are in the middle of nowhere, but you're not far from grocery stores and places to get food and restaurants and things like that. Is that a wrestling with the realm hat? I just
Oh, yeah.
noticed. Look at that. We need some for our actual realm podcast.
Yeah.
Look at that. Okay, you'll have to send me information on that. So anyway, thanks guys for tuning in with us. We just wanted to kind of give you a rundown of Ross Castle, let you know we are working on evidence from our trip, but we have 7 cameras. And as Rob mentioned, people were also wearing body cams. We also have our own recorders. So we have a lot of hours of evidence to go through. So we've split it up amongst the team. We're going to get it done. We're going to get this to you in the next month and a half or so. So just stay tuned, stick with us. We're going to talk about the rest of our trip for the rest of this season. We're also going to, like I said, we're going to have Brian on. We're going to talk about wrestling with the realm at this season. We'll still be doing our weird news on the off weeks. So tune in for that. I'm just gonna bust out Rich right now. So Rich and Rob like went and had a costume change so that they didn't look exactly the same in this video from our Weird Weekly News, because that's how bougie they're getting.
I do that too. I don't want people to know.
Well, Rich had just like he was completely just different, and I don't even
Yeah.
think I've ever seen him with a baseball hat on. And I'm like, well, maybe I should too. All I did was put a hat on. That's all I did.
He's like
Same
Superman.
shirt,
We don't know
hat
it's
on.
him now.
We just wear our t-shirts every time, and then we don't have to worry about it. Because if I look back at old episodes, I wore the same shirt a lot that wasn't like a TRPD shirt, the Realm Paranormal Detectives, by the way. And it's just like I need to diversify my closet, or just wear this every time. So I think I'm just gonna wear my uniform every time. But we had a great time. We'll get this evidence to you. Thanks for listening. We're gonna put the links to Ross Castle there, and we hope we can bring some good evidence to you guys. So until next time, ciao.
Hot sticky pudding.
Peace.
Big balls.